Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff, and this is the Weathering with You review. With me, as always, is Jacoby, aka Kobe. How's it going?
I was wondering how you're going to start that because this isn't a four-episode review. We're doing something different. We're being very topical and recording a movie that came out 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it came out 3 years ago. Weathering with You. Yeah, it was written and directed by Makoto Shinkai of Your Name fame. Everyone loved that anime movie that came out 3 years ago. Oh, wait, when did Your Name come out?
Your Name came out like in 2016, I believe.
2016. Yeah. Oh my God, it's been 6 years. But yeah, that movie came out and everyone loved it. I
Did
loved
you?
it. I did. I really liked it. Did we see it together? I don't even remember. I don't
I
remember.
was no, we did not see it together.
Okay.
But I agree. I think that's one of my favorite anime movies, and just probably one of like just it's just an overall favorite-esque movie of mine because I just think it's great. I love Your Name, and that's why I was really interested in just seeing what else this director has to offer and to what comes next. So that's why I chose Weathering with You because I've always wanted to see it.
Yeah. And yeah, I decided to try something new. Reviewing a film this time.
Cultured, more sophisticated.
Exactly.
That's artsy stuff right there.
Yeah, reviewing films that came out 3 years ago. That's artsy.
That's it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Did you like it?
What did you think?
That's the question, right? That's the question that we got to talk about. I think, to keep it short, opening thoughts. It was okay. I think it's fine, and I don't know. And the question is like, do I only not love this movie because I love Your Name so much? Like, am I comparing it to Your Name, or is it a situation where this movie is just fine? Like, because it felt like it had all the elements, the same elements that Your Name had, but none of those moments really hit as hard for me as they did in Your Name. And that's gonna be interesting to talk about. What do you think?
Okay, so I'm gonna go. This is my long-winded intro. Okay, so
Long-winded.
as you know, Kobe, recently I had a kid.
Right.
My
What?
baby. He's 6 weeks old, and something that they'll always advise you when you have a baby, like many people will tell you this: when the baby sleeps, you sleep, right? And the reason they say this is because babies don't sleep throughout the night, so therefore you should get as much sleep as you can, and you're gonna sleep whenever the baby sleeps. Okay. So for me to set aside time in my life right now for 2 hours, I have to sacrifice that sleep when the baby's sleeping to watch this movie. And not only that, but my wife wanted to watch this movie also. So Tori wanted to watch it too. So she also is not sleeping during this, critical period of time where you should be getting sleep. And so the question is, was this worth sacrificing 2 hours of sleep? And the answer is no. I actually almost fell asleep during the movie. I found it boring, basically. And to your question of, is it because we're comparing it to, one of the greatest animated films of all time? Or is it just because it's fine? I think it's a little bit of both, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I mean, like for me personally, even like the Miyazaki films, those old school ones, I think those, like I like those. I don't think they're like great or amazing. I really think Your Name is the only Japanese animated film that really hits home for me, that really accomplishes what it sets out to do. Not only is the animation beautiful, but the story is beautiful and the characters are great. And so to me, this movie kind of falls into the category of other Japanese anime movies where it's just kind of like, eh. And
Yeah.
we can get into that. I have my ideas as to why that is.
I agree with that because we can get into that because I guess first and foremost to start off with something good because I feel like we're gonna rip apart a lot of this movie when I just think on a visual level I do think it's very beautiful. I think the animation of water and kind of maybe the overall story it's trying to tell is good. It's compelling stuff. But I think my first main problem with a lot of this is that I think there are too many characters. I really think that there's just like a lot of side characters that they're trying to get us invested in, and whether someone like Kuga was this character who I found to be the most interesting in this movie as this kind of older guy who lost his wife and who didn't, and he's kind of scuzzy, but but he obviously cares about our main character and he has this connection with him, but he just really loves his daughter, and like his presence in the story I thought was going to hit harder than it ultimately did. And I just think that's a misstep because I just thought he was a really fascinating character. But then like when you add in like the niece and Hina's brother and even the cops and like and all these kind of side things, I think you lose the heart of this story to tell something that I thought was just okay.
Yeah, and I think this style of movie is probably just not for me.
Mhm.
There maybe is an audience, excuse me, for this style of movie. And when I mean this style of movie, um, I mean a Japanese animated film with beautiful animation, great soundtracks, and kind of slice of lifey, and is ultimately like a teenage romance that has this, great emotional payoff at the very end. Um, and really, I only can only point to three movies in this category. I'm not very well versed in this
Mhm.
animated movie space, but that's my only reference. My only references, which are Your Name, A Silent Voice, which I also thought was kind of okay, and
Mhm.
now this. And so I think that this is just a kind of style or genre of movie that maybe just doesn't appeal to me or us, I guess,
Yeah.
in the way that it tells its story and that kind of structure. But yeah, I still want to go into like why that doesn't work.
Sure.
And so for me, to your point about all the different characters and stuff, I think that uh, you're right that there are too many characters, but I think ultimately the I guess the arc of all the different characters never really tied together
Yeah.
super nicely, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of hard to see the point of all the different relationships, um, especially with how the movie ends and all the
It's
stuff that led up to the end. It was
yeah.
just, I mean, should we just go there?
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about the ending. Okay,
Yeah.
and this is a spoiler review. Who cares? What the fuck? No, nobody's fucking watching this. Okay, but anyways, so the ending of the movie, basically Haruka, is that his name? Haruka, Haruka,
Yeah.
he chooses to save Hina, and the consequence of that is that the entire city of Japan is flooded for 3 years.
Tokyo drowns. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's weird. And I get that, like, because afterwards they say, actually, this is what it's nature reverting back because mankind fucked it up, right? Like that's like the issue. Like we're getting back to where things were, and it's nature reestablishing. Like, and I'm relatively okay with that being a theme, but like I felt like I missed something because I felt like that was not the theme throughout like all of the movie. So when it reveals that, yeah, Tokyo is underwater now, it's like, oh, so you lose like everything. Probably a lot of people died for everything like that. But for them to say afterwards, it's like it's actually how it was 200 years ago, and it's kind of getting back to an equilibrium. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I wish you would have told me that before you hit me with the shock of Tokyo's underwater.
Right, and that was sort of hinted at earlier in the film when there was that old guy kind of
Yeah.
like talking about this mural on the ceiling, right? And he was like, "Well, how old is recorded history? What if this was normal? Blah blah blah." And but you're right though, it's like they really only hit that note like once, and then they revisit it again at the very end. But every other point in the film, there isn't really an ambiguity as to why suddenly sunshine appears when Hina shows up and prays. And also when Hina comes back, immediately, rain starts falling and the city is drowned. And also, lightning strikes a freaking truck when Hina tries to save Haruka, and like a
Yeah.
crucial moment when she needs to save him. So
Right.
I don't know. I think I don't know if that's necessarily the movie's explanation for that happening, or maybe that's the character's justification or explanation. Or maybe it's sort of just like, that's how they explain it to themselves. Especially when Suga tells that to Haruka at the end, when he's like, you think you're so important. No, it wasn't you. It was just nature. I was kind of wondering if maybe he was just saying that so that Haruka didn't have to feel bad about what he did, and just to be like, it's okay, you chose the girl. I would have done the same thing, and I'm just, giving you a pass. Letting you off the hook, kind of thing. So it's just, I don't know. It's not very direct.
Because that's another thing to your point of like not connecting. And that was my point about like with Suga, that sort of thing. It seemed like he had to let Mahodoka go because to be with the girl that he loves, because Suga himself had lost who he loved and he didn't believe anymore, and he wanted to let the kid believe that she was still alive, type thing. But then like his reason at the end, just like, we didn't really do anything. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, like there wasn't any like emotional payoff to that whole arc. Yeah.
Very, very anticlimactic.
And
that's
maybe
what
that's because anticlimactic, and that sort of thing. Because I think back to Your Name, and it sucks to compare it to a much superior movie, but like that's the kid. Like in Your Name, there was a driving force, right? Like in Your Name, there's a force of him trying to save her life, and I guess that is very similar to this one. But while Your Name dealt with themes of like changing destiny for love, was like a big theme that hit very hard. Like this one was just like, oh, she's gone, but like I never really doubted she was gone for good, and like that he wouldn't succeed, and Hodoka's main motivation felt like it was, he kept saying like, I was the one who pushed her to be a sunshine girl, so I feel responsible for her being gone. But that was never it was kind of by accident. Like he didn't really know that, and they didn't. I don't think they realized that she was going to go away by doing all this sunshine stuff. But like there was no moment of like, I'm making you do this because I really like sunshine, and now I feel bad, and now I got to fix my mistake. It was just kind of like, oh, it was kind of an accident, and it's like, crap, I messed up. Now I got to save you. I didn't really feel that push when it was like, okay, I got to save her now,
Yeah, and I guess ultimately it falls on just kind of like weak characterization overall, and also weak development of the relationships between them. Like in Your Name, I remember very clearly and being invested in that relationship, and I think it's because you saw both of them in their own time struggling, making decisions, and actually kind of seeing their relationship with each other develop by inhabiting each other's bodies, kind of thing. And it was a very personal connection because they literally saw each other's lives from each other's perspectives, whereas this is kind of more of like a classical-ish kind of love story, I guess, where it's just kind of like boy meets girl. But there are so many things in this movie too that are just like very like not explained or coincidental. By not explained, like one thing that I think would have maybe helped a bit more is why Haruka ran away from home.
Yeah, that was weird. I thought I missed it. Is it because it's hinted kind of like he was beaten, right? Like he was escaping from home life, and that kind of has to be it because he has all those bruises on his face, and that's what makes him run for him not to go back. But then, and that's fine. Like I think that's a good story beat that he's trying to escape his life. But then for them to not hit upon that when he's like, I got to go back to my to my old city and go to school there for 3 more years, and then before he comes back, just felt weird. Like that just was not tied together.
Yeah, something was missing there. Like it kind of almost felt like he came back home for 3 years and things were fine. And it kind of just, and I'm sure things weren't fine, and maybe we're supposed to assume that given the circumstances that drove him to leave. But if that's not really shown or talked about, it kind of almost makes it feel like him running away in the first place had no meaning to it. Anyways, the other things that were kind of coincidental is just like, and I guess you can chalk this up to like destiny or whatever, but like, they just meet each other at like a McDonald's, and then later on he sees her on the street randomly, and also there's a gun that he finds in a trash can, and the gun is very significant for some reason.
The gun, that was a weird thing, and like especially near the end when like he like pulled the gun on like the cops, and the cops had the gun on him, and like it's just like, a shot. Like what is this going to turn into in a second there? Like But and for the fact that like that didn't really that didn't seem like, unless I'm missing the theme of it, but like the whole gun aspect didn't seem to tie into the theme of what the movie was trying to say about, I don't know, nature, about old versus new, about escaping, and I don't know what it was, but it felt like it was just there as a weird plot device that like didn't really do anything. Like it didn't. The people he stole the gun from didn't really come looking for it. Like it was just used at the end for him to like kind of escape, and for like you could have the whole thing play out exactly how without guns, like really, right? So it's like, then why have such an important plot point throughout when it doesn't matter?
Yeah, and the gun as like a device, as a thing that shoots and kills people, just feels out of place in this sort of chill aesthetic anime movie about teenage romance. It's just like it kind of takes you out of it. It's kind of like a weird like dissonance between like what this actual genre is, like I just don't expect a gun in my
Yeah, for him
cute
to pull a
artsy
gun,
anime
I
film.
don't expect cops to show up and like we're gonna like shoot you, kid. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, okay, so back to like the characterization aspect of it and the relationship
Yeah.
building and stuff. So the relationship between Haruka and Hina in particular, I think, is very weak. There, it's annoying. I think you see this a lot in anime actually overall, where it's like, oh, it's the shy, introverted boy meets the gregarious, fun-loving girl who's into him, even though he's awkward. It's just like you see this all the time in anime, and you see
Yeah.
it in this movie, and it's very cliche. It's just like, and they just kind of develop feelings for each other, like just because, like, I mean, Haruka saves her life, granted, but then it's like it just feels like so shortly after that they meet again, and then Haruka's like, yeah, we could make some money off your powers, and then there's that montage of them, going to all these shrines and stuff, and then we're just supposed to assume that the relationship kind of takes off from there. And I think, like, it's weird because I feel like the movie moves very slowly overall, but in that very important aspect of building the relationship between these two main characters, it goes way too fast. Like, it just goes like, here's the main characters, they're in love now. That's what happens in these movies, right? So you just gotta accept it.
Yeah, but I didn't even see that. Like, it was kind of felt one-sided in a lot of ways because like I didn't really see Hina's like real love for him or any sort of expression like as like I kind of have feelings for this awkward guy. Like you kind of saw it with Hodoka, but like not really either. So it's just like if it was like a romance where the central romance is so important to it, but like it also didn't feel like as natural as these kind of two people characters net, and they're both using each other for personal motivations, like, and to really be invested in that final moment, then you kind of gotta have more than that.
Yeah, and so I think it just kind of speaks to the movie's laziness in a way, because it's just like, because they don't have to show Hina's affection for Hodoka, because there's the boy and the girl, they're the main characters, they're in love, they're in relationships, they're in a romantic relationship. That's just what happens in these movies. And so you just kind of, I just feel like the writer or director, Makoto Shinkai is just like, yeah, this, they're in love, obviously. I don't even have to show it because they're just the two main leads, and boom, know?
But and it's weird because he did that so well in Your Name. Like he did it so well in it, but like it just didn't carry over here, and I just don't know what the disconnect, really was, or what could have helped. There are parts I did like the editing of this movie, like a lot of the montages, and like had a nice, I think, just flow to them, and like a lot of the shots I just thought were nice, but like the story itself, I just found lacking. Yeah. Did you watch the dub or the sub?
I watched the dub.
Me too. I watched the dub too.
I wasn't aware if there was a sub available version on HBO Max, which is where I watched it.
It's weird. No, it's weird because on my TV I could watch it as the English dub or the sub, but like on my computer on HBO it only gives me the sub option. So I watched it So it was, switch that. On my TV I could not switch it to English, but on my computer online I could switch it between English and Japanese.
Yeah, I was watching this on my Fire Stick and it only showed the dub version. So there's probably some discrepancy in the versions there. But yeah, so I mean, it's a Japanese anime movie. The animation is going to be gorgeous. I feel like that's a given.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be downplayed because it is, really spectacular animation. But because of like the weak story, it almost kind of seems like it's just a flex on like the animator's part to be like, look how good we can animate rain. Like,
because
check out
and
these
that's hard to
rain
do. It
animations.
seems like, and that's what makes it kind of unfortunate, because like Your Name I think was beautiful, but like I don't think it was like, it didn't ask to have like as challenging of an animation style as this one did, because water is just super hard in this movie. It's like 90% water. And like this movie I think does look better than Your Name for like some of the sequences and stuff. So it's like, man, if this had a better story to it, like I think this could have also been like an all-time great, like for everything.
The other thing I was curious about, and I was wondering if you thought this too, is there seemed to be some kind of, well, I mean, there was like some like mythos in the background about what a sunshine girl was, what a rain girl or guy is. There's the dragon, there's the sky whale. Yeah. And they kind of hint at that, they discuss a little bit, but they never really come full circle on it or make it explicitly known, like, what those things mean. Like, why is there a sky fish in the sky? And I'm wondering if this is just a lack of knowledge on my part with overall Japanese mythology, because
Sure.
that is often the case, right? Where it's like, to a Japanese audience, the
Yeah,
symbolism
they
here.
know all this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, I wonder if I'm just missing something there. But yeah, I guess as a Western viewer, I wish I had a little bit more explanation as to what all these things were, and maybe tying them into the characters.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking we were going to get like a rain guy or something, like someone who's actually was causing the rain specifically. And but obviously it's not this type of movie, right? There's not like a real antagonist per se. But like to start, when I was still trying to figure out what was going to happen, I kind of thought that's where we were going when they did mention all those different types of people that could be. I thought like, oh, there's someone trying to cause this rain for some reason. So like, why is that? But like, nah.
Yeah, and I actually thought it was Haruka was the rain guy, just kind of unknowingly, because he came to the city, and I don't remember if it was already raining when he came there or if it just started raining after he got there. But I was thinking like, oh, maybe he's the rain guy and she's a sunshine girl, and that's why they're a match or whatever.
That would have been a better story. Like, that actually probably would have been pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it seems like he loves, because that was the thing, like his establishing motivation is that he loves rain, right? Like that's his thing. He comes up on the boat and almost drowns because everyone else goes inside, and he comes up because he wants to look at, like, you know, the rain, right? Like that's what he wants.
Yeah, so and the skyfish that literally appears like above him.
Yeah, and so it's weird that he doesn't like. There's not more to that character in terms of just like, okay, now I'm with a sun girl who's bringing the sun, even though I was established as loving rain. Like there should have been more like some sort of conflict there, right? Or not even conflict, but some sort of development instead of just like, now I really want sun now because this girl gave me McDonald's. Like, like
right.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was the same girl either, to be honest with you. When she says like it's like, oh, is it because I gave you that burger? It's like, oh, it's the girl from McDonald's.
Yeah. And speaking of McDonald's, yeah, good on this movie. It's got McDonald's, Yahoo, Honda, I think. Yeah, it's got like real life brand names. It doesn't have like a McNaldo's or like a McDanky steak
or Yoo-hoo. Yeah,
exactly.
I did notice that too. That was strange. I'm like, oh, okay, you got that branding money in order to do that. McDonald's was fine with selling their name for, it's like, okay, now you're gonna drown the city. Yeah. A weird sort of conclusion to this, because probably a lot of people lost everything.
Yeah, and just because like the movie to me was really boring up to that point, but that really just deflated the rest of it. Just like, oh, okay, you know, city's drowned, that seems bad. And the other thing too is, Suga, he was really concerned about making sure that he had custody of his daughter, and yet he like went out of his way to like help Haruka and like even chase him down like all the way to the shrine building area, which I'm not even sure how he knew where that was.
I thought I missed something because it was weird how he just showed up there. Like they must have mentioned it before, right? But like I didn't know how he got there.
It's possible, or it's possible he just shows up because the script needed him to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also just think that was kind of a weird, like it seems like after all that shit went down, that they wouldn't give him custody of his daughter, but it turns out 3 years later that he does, and also he, I guess, adopted Hina's brother.
But that was weird because it's like, oh, does that mean that Hina's brother, like where's Hina, like in all this sort of thing? And that's like, it's so frustrating in this movie, in all those aspects of like not tying together its plot conclusions, because like even that aspect of just like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to her in 3 years. It's like, why did we, like, what was the point of prolonging, like, why did we have that sort of gap? Like, what did it accomplish to be like, okay, now we're underwater? Like, you could have had Tokyo underwater like next week and you still find Hina again, but like, I don't know why they made it like I had to leave for 3 years and then come back, and then, but I didn't talk to her because I was nervous and she doesn't have a phone, and I just kind of hoped that was the case. Like, I don't understand the reasoning behind that, and anything with Suga's character explanation, because it's my pet peeve, I guess, when characters say like, oh, he's like a younger version of you type thing, but like you don't see that at all. Like I didn't see any really, like, I guess they established that Suga ran away from home too when he was a kid, so that's why it's like, oh my, okay, that's a connection, but like they didn't act similar like at all. Like I would like,
no,
I didn't really believe that relationship.
Yeah, and I guess that's just kind of the theme here, is it's just like not enough things are developed well enough to be believable in terms of situations or characters or developments in their relationships and stuff. And yeah,
Yeah, it's my fault. I chose this movie because I was excited. I didn't realize. I was thinking like, oh, like an hour and a half movie. It's like that's the same as 4 episodes. I didn't realize how hard that is for you as a new parent to be like, oh, I can't split that up now. So I won't suggest a movie in the future.
No, it's all good. I didn't tell you about it. I just wanted you. I wanted you to feel bad about it
right here on camera. So
yeah,
so all 3 people could see.
I'm just kidding. No, it's totally cool. I mean, I think it was a good idea to pick a movie. Maybe we'll do another movie some other time, and
but like a more exciting one.
Yeah, we'll do one for sure. We'll do a different genre. No more of this like kind of chill teen romance stuff. I want something like gets the blood pumping.
Yeah, something exciting. Akira, Neon Genesis Evangelion, End of Evangelion. Your favorite thing?
No, not my favorite thing. Anyways. Yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. If you made it this far, let us know what you think down in the comments below. And yeah, we can talk about the movie together. Or not. Do whatever you want. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't know. This outro is always kind of a shit show.
You nailed it.
Thanks.